All right, guys, so I'm going to give you a brief overview of the STEEL method. You're going to use this when you're trying to analyze a character and find out different traits about them. Indirect characterization, like it says on this slide, is going to be when an author chooses to show you something about a character instead of directly just telling you. When they're just telling you about them, that's going to be called direct characterization. We can't really analyze that because it doesn't allow for any real critical thinking. We don't have to draw conclusions because the author is telling us what they want us to know. Now, indirect characterization is the exact opposite. They're trying to show us something. They want us to think about a character. This engages the reader. So we can actually draw conclusions about things from the text itself. So the author can choose to do this by doing a few different things. They can reveal something about the character through their speech. So you're looking specifically at what they're saying and what that shows us about them. You can reveal that through their thoughts. So what the character is thinking, their internal dialogue. We see a lot of that um, in To Kill a Mockingbird with Scout. We get to see a lot of her internal dialogue since she is the narrator. And then there's the effects on others. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated to look at. This is one of the harder pieces of indirect characterization to identify. So you're really looking at how other characters react to the character in question. So, for example, in today's lesson plan, you're going to be looking at Atticus Finch. Now, he doesn't do a lot of talking in this chapter. It's really just his ominous nature that's surrounding this chapter. So Scout and Jem and Dill, they're acting in a very particular way because of who Atticus is. So it's our job to look at their actions and then decide what does that really show us about Atticus. So how are they feeling about him? What does that mean in terms of him as a character? The next thing is going to be their actions. Very simple. What are they doing? What does that show us about who they are, their nature, their motives? And then the last one is their looks or appearance. This one sometimes gets a little confusing with direct or indirect. The author is going to be describing a character, and we have to think, what does that reveal about that character? So, for example, if they describe a character in a lot of raggedy clothes, that means that they're probably poor or in a lower social class. For example, we looked at the Cunninghams. They're described in a very particular way in the novel. And that really does tell us about their social status in that town and in this time period. So that's something we need to pay attention to. Another way to look at that is also their facial expressions. If the author is describing how they like um, how they display their emotions on their face or their body language, that's important to take note of. When you're analyzing this, you're always going to ask yourself this very particular question, and it's underlined on this slide for you. This very particular question, and then actually explain that. So, what does this particular thing reveal about the character that I am focusing on? Okay. So, like I said, today's class, you're focusing on Atticus Finch. What does the speech of Atticus, the thoughts of Atticus, his effect on other people in the book, his actions, or his looks and appearance reveal about him as a person? Usually, all of these things are going to be working together throughout a novel. We're just going to work on identifying very particular examples of this. Okay. So, hopefully, this was a quick review for you about what the STEEL method is, how it helps us in finding indirect characterization, and then how that helps us understand a character. All right, good luck.